Hi, it's Elizabeth from Solo Trekker for You with this week's update on TravelStyle. If you noticed from our last blog, one of the things we talked about is how can you get some really good deals when you're traveling abroad on something unique at a good price. You may be wondering why, when it's almost April, I'm wearing a faux fur hat and a Scandinavian ski sweater. The reason is simple. We're a little bit disappointed in the groundhog this year because, as you may know, on the East Coast, we just had an ice and snowstorm. So we don't really believe that spring is coming up soon. But in the meantime, it's fun to think about some of the shopping you can do as you travel the web and as you travel the world. One of the great things, if you think about it, is that when you're traveling, zoos are not just for animal watching. I have found some fantastic necklaces and earrings that were in zoos from St. Louis to locations around the world. They're usually a fairly moderate price, although you can find sometimes expensive replicas in museums. Although if you get those that are in sterling silver or just a plain gold tone, they're usually going to be less expensive. So always remember that a zoo is usually encompassing animals from around the world so that you're likely to find in the gift shop. They're going to have some great items that reflect those particular travels. Secondly, think about doing good and doing well. One way to do this when you travel is to look at some of the microfinance and other charity groups where people are working, preparing not just local handicrafts, but often some very attractive clothing items. When I was in India, I got the chance to meet with a group of women who were preparing both silk and cotton fabrics and wonderful clothing items that I could bring home with me. A third to do is think about being your own designer. In areas like Asia and India, there are many wonderful fabrics that can be turned into not just something that's a local exemplar, but a copy of some of your favorite items at home. When I went to Jaipur back in September, I took a blouse of mine that I liked very much, and I had it copied in 3 different colors of silk. And they were all at very good prices, and something I probably couldn't have done at home. One of the next things to think about is to shop like a local. And this is a little bit harder than it sounds. In Ljubljana, the capital of Slovenia, I dutifully took a bus out to the suburbs to shop at some of the areas beyond the tourist sector. One problem, I spoke no Slovenian and I met no one that spoke English. So it was a very interesting shopping trip, and it got more interesting on the way home as I dutifully got on the correct bus, but no one had mentioned to me that it took a different route. I did find one of the students in the bus who was able to direct me, but luckily if someone had a GPS, that would be another alternative. Lastly, don't overlook the end of season sales. On our link now for the last blog, we talk about Down Under and how you can get up to 50% off as the seasons are getting into cold weather in Australia, just as we're still hoping for some warm weather north of the equator. If you look behind me and wonder why there's a 6'2" giraffe, it's a good example of how not to pack and how not to shop abroad. This is one of my favorite pieces, but it traveled with me from a roadside in Zambia through a business trip in Zimbabwe. I then discovered how expensive it could be bringing it home, and lastly, how interesting it was for the customs officials. So in any case, take a look at our blog, and we look forward to hearing from you at TravelStyle. Thanks and safe travels.